Hello everybody, I'm at the bus stop and I thought I'd make another video. I think this is gonna work for me to make a video while I'm at the bus stop, and I can post those probably daily. And then the longer videos, which right now would be my twin flame journey, we're still pretty early in the twin flame journey that I'm doing the story times with. There's still a lot more to cover, and those videos will be I don't know, maybe 20 to 30 minutes each. And those I will upload on weekends, so usually probably on a Saturday. Okay, so not sure how this came up, but it came into my head to talk about, I think it was a conversation maybe I had with someone else a few days ago or something like that, but to talk about the perception of right and wrong, because I was a very traditionalist of pretty much black and white before this shift that I had. And you know, when I say that, I mean everything was pretty clear. I was a Christian, and we have certain things that we follow, certain values, morals and rules in the Bible that we follow, and certain standards that, you know, just are expected. So I followed those, and on top of that I had some other ideas and beliefs as well. So I was very much a right and wrong person, and I also just was naturally very compassionate. I had a lot of compassion for animal rights and abuse survivors where it comes to domestic violence or child abuse. I worked for all those causes and just any kind of injustice I pretty much was involved in some way or another, whether it was from work or volunteer or just on my own, you know, interests that I got involved with. So that was pretty much, you know, who I was, and or part of who I was at that time. But since this shift, a lot has come into a different sort of perspective, and it really is pretty radical. You know, when you hear radical non-duality, it sounds kind of silly because it just is whatever is happening. It's not very radical, really. It's just what it is. But it can be radical to the mind, because the mind held all these beliefs. And when I say the mind, you know, the mind, the brain, anything like that that you use to process this information and create these beliefs and these ideas around the self that it clings to. So when there's no self, there's no one to hold those beliefs. And it's also seen that everything's just arising. It's not happening for a reason or a meaning. And if it is, it's completely unknowable. So there's just nothing there to grasp. Cause and effect, time, all of these things are illusions. So there really can't be any meaning. You know, and like I said, and if there is, and if you have that thought, that's fine. That's, you know, what you have as a thought. But in the grand scope of things, there's no one here in this body to grasp and hold on to those things. So the perspective really changes. So like animal rights and all of these things, I have no desire, nor do I see why I would get involved in these causes. I just don't see the point of that, because that's what's arising. It's whole, it's perfect, it's what's wanting to happen here. Of course there is still feelings and compassion and things here arising. So if something were to happen in front of me, somebody being abused or something in my immediate human experience, like if I'm somewhere and it's happening in front of me, that's real. That is my experience. So in that case, I would do something about it immediately. But to read about it, watch shows about it, or get involved with these causes or anything like that just doesn't arise anymore. I don't see it as something wrong or anything like that. I mean, it is morally wrong, but I don't see it. I see that it's arising, and so if it's arising, it's happening for a reason. And even in our own lives, I've kind of come into perspective that right and wrong is very relative. It's not exactly, so there is no right and wrong, really. So even in my own life, there was things, I went through a lot of suffering with different things in my life. And I probably have shared some of that stuff in the story time, and then maybe I'll share some more. But there was a lot of suffering, and suffering still does occur, but not so extreme, but it does still occur, and things still arise. But for example, some other things that happened in my past, like, you know, let's say a difficult childhood, or a divorce, or a betrayal of some kind. I didn't have any other real serious things. I guess the death of my twin flame, things like that. They can appear very much bad in our perspective as a self, because something is happening to us and we're having to process and suffer through that. But in the grand scope of things, like now I can look back and, you know, see that those things actually were not bad. They actually provided me with the next step. So it was growth. And it doesn't always appear as growth for everybody, but for me it did. And there's always a learning experience, regardless if there's a lot of growth or not. There is something there to gain. And for me, those situations actually provided the most, or the greatest level of growth, and the greatest level of love eventually that arose from those things. So going through those things developed a lot of compassion towards other people and understanding, and it also developed self-love. I mean, if you would call it an awakening, which I wouldn't use that word, but it's what people understand, without me having to explain a whole lot, because I want to make a short video. My awakening stemmed from suffering as well. Now, does everybody have to suffer for this to happen? No, that's not what's apparently happening with others, so I can't say that. I don't know that. But what I can say is that we want to label things right and wrong, or good and bad, but really all that's arising is happening exactly as it should, and that's how it wants to arise. There's nothing to change. So I wanted to share that new perspective with you. Alright, I think the bus just came. Thanks for watching.